So apparently the other day CNN was caught faking this protest. Let's have a look. So here's the reporter woman waiting for the actors to get on place. And I call them actors because they are acting. I don't know if they are like, professional actors or if they were hired to do that, or maybe they were just asked to do this. But I guess it's like, good Muslims who oppose ISIS and are protesting against ISIS. Now they're sort of directing the actors. Somebody's even laughing how fake this thing is. And of course, like, it's not like a spontaneous protest. Just look at the papers the Muslims are holding. Like, it doesn't seem like it's spontaneous. The Muslim community is outraged by terrorism and they want to show they care, and it's fake, all of it. Okay, that was it. So first of all, it's certainly not the first time CNN has been caught faking their news. This is from 1990, I suppose. This guy, CNN reporter, whatever his name is, Charles Jaco.
Well, Cheryl, it was almost exactly 2 hours ago when the sirens went off here in Saudi Arabia. Where we are in eastern Saudi Arabia, there was no problem. Now, let me just size my mask.
He said he's in Saudi Arabia, but it looks like he's in a studio. Like, look at the blue screen in the background, and like the palm tree, it looks fake, or like just doesn't look real. And this is, I don't know, probably everybody's seen this video, so I won't play all of it. But yeah, we know CNN is fake news, and like just maybe a few weeks ago, I had a conversation with somebody who said who claimed that CNN is better than Fox News, and I said maybe 10 years ago I would have agreed that Fox News is worse than CNN, but well, now it seems CNN is even worse. But that's not to say that Fox News is is good or anything or reliable. But anyway, but the interesting thing is, when I try to Google, I try to find the original CNN report. I couldn't find it. Like, it's probably somewhere out there on the CNN webpage, but I was just like, yeah, whatever, because I don't think it's gonna matter much to find the original or like the report from CNN. But anyway, so I googled this what CNN London protest or something like that, and you get lots of mainstream media articles saying that it's fake news to claim that CNN was faking this protest, and well, it's obvious they were, and even Snopes is saying CNN created fake news and staged protests in which Muslim residents purportedly protested a 3 June 2017 attack in London. 3rd of June, I guess. And it says it's false. So basically, Snopes is Snapes. I'm not a Harry Potter fan, but I know it's some character. But whatever, they are this website. Whenever there is something a bit controversial in the news, they are always there to debunk it. So it's probably that the opposite of what they are saying is true. But of course, it's not that simple. But anyway, I found this this is I don't know, maybe says all. Nothing in any of the rumors provided definite or even shaky evidence that the protests were staged by CNN or any other party for the purposes of favorable media coverage. Definitive evidence, and then shaky, which is almost like the opposite. Like, there is definitely at least shaky evidence that has been staged, but definitive. It's very how they define it, and of course they will define it, how it suits them. And anyway, there is Breitbart, which is mainstream media. It's more like the saner side of mainstream media, but it's still mainstream media, and it's not it's the voice of truth or whatever. So yeah, here it talks about this issue, and I have 2 links of it. And Fox Insider and talks about it, and I had other links, but whatever, you can just find them on your own. Like, the mainstream media is talking about this incident, so of course there's one possibility, the Streisand effect, if they just try to cover up this whole incident, then it might gain even more attention. But I don't think that's what's going on. I think they actually want people to know that this protest was staged, for maybe few different reasons. One is that everybody who is a critical thinker already knows that CNN is fake news, and most of mainstream media is fake news. They're lying, and you just you sort of more or less assume that most of the stuff they say is fake in some way, or at least they're pushing some angle on their stories. And this is just confirmation of something we already knew. So it's not a big deal in that sense, this fake protest. But of course there are some people who will refuse to think for themselves, and they will believe whatever what they perceive to be the authority and the voice of reality, which is the media or government or whatever. They will never question it until maybe if the media says, hey, you should question us, or we are fake news, and I don't know if they would, maybe they just, their minds would explode, whatever. But yeah, another thing is that this is actually sort of making Muslims look bad, this whole incident, because a lot of people, myself included, have been saying okay, where are the good moderate Muslims who are denouncing this terrorism? And then we have these moderate Muslims denouncing terrorism, but then we find out it's fake. So clearly these Muslims are not, if they're even Muslims, who knows, but they are not honest in their condemnation of ISIS. They are just there basically. I don't know how they are they actors, are they were they just asked by their imam, or were they paid off, whatever. So they are here. So do any critical thinker is well, it's just more evidence that Muslims are okay with terrorism. like that's how, you know, a critical thinker would see that Muslims are okay with terrorism, and that's why the media has to find these fake protesters. And so the, you know, the natural conclusion to this line of thought is like, okay, clearly these Muslims are just bad. Okay, so well, yeah, of course I do want this Islamization of Europe to stop, and excess Muslim presence in Europe to go away. But it's still, we should remind ourselves that Muslims did not start this whole conflict. They didn't start the war on terror. Muslims didn't start Al-Qaeda. CIA did, and all of this. Like it has been this, you know, globalist. I'm just gonna say globalist because it's this nice and generic term that everybody can get behind. So anyway, these globalists, they orchestrated all of these troubles in the Middle East. They orchestrated wars, and then it's the same people who bring Muslims here, and naturally, like, just by itself, the you know, coexistence of Muslims and Europeans, whether it's secular Europeans or Christian Europeans or whatever, like, our values don't really match. So there is already some conflict and tension there, and then of course they do all sorts of stuff to escalate these tensions, because for whatever reason they like to cause trouble. And so yeah, it's basically that, like, I do think that Muslims are behind certain violent actions in Europe in like recent years, and there have been cases which are genuine, but I think a lot of it is also orchestrated more or less by these globalist forces. So it's not, we shouldn't just be blinded by the anger against these Muslim invaders, because they are not the true enemy. They are just basically foot soldiers used by the true enemy to, you know, create this conflict. So anyway, another reason for faking this thing, and also sort of like, I think they sort of wanted us to know that they faked this protest, because for one, it gives CNN more like visibility, like they gain relevance, because now people are, you know, talking about CNN, because like if the mainstream media cannot entice like large portions of the public to follow their narratives based on, you know, how they used to be able to do like 20 years ago or something, when most people still trusted the mainstream media falsely, but they did. But now it doesn't really work. So now they are using sort of the, well, let's use a wrestling term, the heel approach. Like in, you know, professional wrestling, which is of course fake, there's usually, like, you know, in a match there's two competitors, the face and the heel. The face is the good guy that the audience usually likes, and the heel is the bad guy who is annoying, or like, you know, evil and, you know, duplicitous, and uses underhanded methods to win matches, and the audience usually hates him. So at first, the mainstream media, they were a face. They were, you know, the good guys that, you know, tell us the truth and all that. But now we found out they're not such a good guy anymore. But now they still like drag us to watch the show by acting like a heel and like aggravating us on purpose. I think that's like one purpose, and it's sort of like it's a fake thing, and it's fake, and we all know most of the news are fake. So this isn't like a new thing, and they're like distracting, I guess, people from even bigger things, and I'm not saying don't pay any attention to this story since I'm talking about it, but you should have the right perspective on it. Like, don't get blinded by your, like, I think they want people to get angry, whether it's angry at Muslims, angry at the media or whatever, but like, okay, it's good to like hold contempt in your heart for these people, but you should also have a clear mind and don't act just on emotion and stuff. And yeah, like because I do think that people should basically just stop paying attention to mainstream media. I don't know how it would be actually done, but they are, because I still sort of think that a lot of people sort of expect CNN, Fox News, whatever, all of these mainstream media outlets to, if we just demand them, they will become less social, like cultural Marxist, and less social justice warrior, less pro-Muslim, less, fake news, and more honest and stuff. And well, okay, maybe if we demand hard enough, or if we are vocal enough, they will do some superficial changes to pacify people and to fool them into thinking that the media has changed, but they will never change. Like, once you corrupt beyond a certain point, I don't think there's redemption. Like, in Star Wars, the only way for Darth Vader to redeem himself was basically to, kill the Emperor and then die off, because like he couldn't live anymore with all the evil he's done, because like the good and the evil force in him, they just couldn't coexist, and he dies. Or I don't know, it's a geeky example, but I think that's like, yeah, don't expect the media to change. Like, it's like it's not really even worth it giving them this attention, and they are just, they create these conflicts and stuff to keep you occupied or angry and scared or whatever. It's bullshit. Like, I think it's like a two level hoax or something. Like, there's two sides to this hoax, or two, a coin with two sides or whatever. Blah, 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 blah.